Welcome back. What I would like to do in this lecture is actually apply, right, the for-profit management versus bureaucratic management in one of the market institutions, and in particular the institution of education. Okay, the institution of education. Education in the United States and most countries in the world is not only free, but it is also compulsory. It's mandatory. Why is it compulsory? When I give you an apple, if education is a good, like an apple and orange, will I enforce it on you? Will I force that particular good or service? Why is it mandatory? Right? Why is it compulsory? So that's what I want to focus is, and in order to understand why education is compulsory is to go to the historical background and the evolution of the institution of education. So, in most countries, education is not only free, but it is compulsory. Why? Why do you think education is compulsory? Mainstream argument, the layman would say, well, education is a positive externality. What is a positive externality? That your actions, right, have a positive effect on bystanders. If I'm educated, then everyone in society is going to benefit. But now I'm not internalizing the benefits to society, right? So government in a way is forcing me to internalize the benefit to society by doing what? Subsidizing my education. That's why education is free, it's subsidized, right? So the reason governments are subsidizing is there is general understanding out there that education is a positive externality. The more educated people are, right, the more positive externalities to bystanders. But in my own, me being self-interested, right, I'm not going to calculate my benefits to you, so I'm going to get less education because I'm not internalizing the external benefits. So this is a disequilibrium. So government intervenes, subsidizes you so that you optimize your education, so that everybody benefits from, society at large benefits from your positive externalities. Right? What would happen if it's a negative externality, pollution? Right? The polluter is not internalizing the cost of the pollution. I have a factory, right? I keep producing. Well, I'm creating pollution to my neighborhoods, to the neighbors. So government comes and they tax me. What is a tax? It's like this is the cost of the negative externality pollution. Okay. So subsidizing education is the alternative to a pollution. It's a positive externality. So that's the argument. That's what everybody teaches in colleges, universities, mainly say, yeah, it's positive externality, subsidized. So in order to understand why education is compulsory, well, subsidize it, make it free. But why are you making it compulsory? And you think it's a joke. Compulsory is serious. It's serious. Literally, they can, I mean, if you extrapolate, they can come take your kids away. It's not a joke. I mean, it's serious, okay? We don't go that far. I went halfway, I'll tell you my story, okay? I'm like, okay, I can't go further than that, okay? Because I don't want to enter into like a war with the state. But it is compulsory. So we need to investigate the evolution of government-controlled education to understand. The roots of government-controlled education can be traced back to early modern Europe, obviously, 15th to 18th century, the Renaissance times. The education system that started there was brought over from the continent, from Europe to the US and the rest of the world. At that time, monarchies and nation-states recognized the importance of educating citizens. For what purposes? The understanding at that time was not that it's a positive externality, it was for the purpose of state building. So it's the self-interest of the states that led to compulsory education. You bring your kids, we educate them for state building purposes. What does it mean, state building purposes? What do you think that would include? What would be included? What's the purpose? State building purposes. What does that entail?
Maintaining ideology, spreading ideology.
Spreading an ideology, right? Propaganda for the states. But how does that actually materializes, manifest itself, like in the market for education? It was used for I will get to military. Very good. That will be the next slide. The first purpose was for language unification. You know, these times in France there were hundreds of languages. Germany had hundreds of languages. You know, so people spoke villages, city-states. When you're building a nation-state, right? When you're bringing people from different backgrounds, right? That's what nation-state is. The borders are drawn by blood. You're bringing in people that don't speak the same language. The best way to control people if everyone speaks the same language, right? So the state wants uniformity, homogeneity. They want sheeple, okay? One approach, the first step is to have a unified language, okay? So in countries like France and Germany, public education was introduced in part to unify the diverse linguistic. So it was compulsory. You have to come, forget your own language. This is the state language, state building purpose, one language, right? So that way you can control. So official, for example, until not too long ago, until 10, 20 years ago, there was an official ban on the Kurdish language in the Republic of Turkey. In Turkey in the 90s, you could not learn Kurdish. There was a ban, right? For unification purposes, for state control. Right? Kurdish was banished in public life, including in schools. Speaking Kurdish in public was often penalized, and the language was not recognized as the legitimate language for education or media. Nowadays, they have kind of like, you know, loosened it up. They have after-school activity. You can learn some Kurdish language. They have some private schools. But the idea is, right, to serving the state. So compulsory education, you come in, you learn the language, unify people, easy to serve. The public education system, in particular in Prussia, I was trying to figure out. So Prussia, I think today includes most of Germany. It includes Eastern Europe, Poland. Does it include Lithuania?
No.
No, but it includes like parts of Russia, Kaliningrad, yeah. So Prussia, it was a monarchy, started 1701, kind of unofficially ended in 1871, you know, some remnants were there till World War I think, officially ended, you know. But so during that time, Prussia, education was compulsory, was spread compulsory. In particular, it was designed for obedience and to the state. Until now, I have a quote from the president of Harvard. It says students should be obedient to the state. I don't have the particular name of the president, but you could look it up. There's a quote like that. Imagine these ideas from like 3-4 centuries ago, right? The president of Harvard saying that you should be obedient to the state. Okay, what does that mean, obedient to the state? Okay, so, and the sense of duty to whom? To the state. This model was exported to other parts of Europe and the United States, where it became the basis for modern public schooling. Education in the 19th, 20th century, all the way to our century, to our day and age, right? As you see in your colleges, education has become a tool for indoctrination. Okay, indoctrination in whatever the state desires, whatever the preferences of the state is. Okay, the Prussian system of compulsory education aimed at creating disciplined citizens who would contribute to patio, military and bureaucratic. Okay, I mean, how do you bring in an 18, 19 years old adult? How can you just bring him to the military service? In the right state of mind, you would say no. Like, what does it mean? You know what I'm saying? But we have to train you. We have to train you in the duty. That's why in the schools you have the flags. What do public schools do every day in the mornings? Pledge of allegiance. What are you doing? 12 years old, 11, 12, 13, 14, pledge of allegiance, and then what? So that the transition into military service becomes natural. It's your duty. No, it's not your duty. Okay? But that's the mindset, right? Is being built up over time. That was the origin purpose of making education compulsory. I took my kids out from public school, put them in private school. And you know what happened in private school? They're still saying the Pledge of Allegiance. I'm like, what? After 1 year, I didn't know. They're like, yeah, Baba, we'll go say. I'm like, no, you stop. I went to school, told the principal, this is not happening. I'll pull all 3 of my kids out. right? And we pay full price. So no, we'll do something like, they're not going to say the Pledge of Allegiance. And I told my kids, your Pledge of Allegiance is to your family, to Baba and Mama. Baba first, okay? Your allegiance is to me. Allegiance to what? What are you doing? Like going, like dying in the deserts of Libya because Gaddafi is killing some Gaddafi's family? Or what are you doing? You know what I'm saying? This is not a city-state where like it's your family, your tribe, maybe you want to defend, maybe warm glow. But this is like nation states. There's nothing binds me more to another guy walking outside or living in Idaho than someone living in India. Right? My empathy is not going to, it's like, oh, we live in this, so what? It's a nation state. I don't know, Pledge of Allegiance, I go to the Lakers game something, or the, hockey games, Kings game, Pledge of Allegiance. I'm looking like, oh my God, like, I don't think, maybe you're right, maybe he's left, maybe he's pro-abortion, anti-abortion, pro-death penalty, and everybody's like, rooting for what? There is no like a code of conduct, right? There's no uniformity in our beliefs that makes us friends. So my allegiance is to all the Austrian economists, to all the anarchists in the world. Sometimes even before, my family first, and then, and then the rest. So I said no more Pledge of Allegiance, so they don't participate in Pledge of Allegiance. So anyways, so I will continue what happened after that. I mean, the story continues, but servicing, right? So they train you obedience, duty. The flag is there, the picture of the president is there, Pledge of Allegiance every day, right? So just to sum up, the Prussian education system emphasizes strict obedience to authority, uniformity in thinking, indoctrination in nationalistic and patriotic ideals. This model led to the foundation of our public schooling in the United States, where the primary goal was to create a population that would support the state's objective, whether through military service or obedience or bureaucratic obedience. Right nowadays, in the 20th and 21st century, we have teaching-approved curricula, centralized, common core. What is common core? It's at the federal, Common Core, third grades do this, fourth grade do this, right? All the books, they have an agenda, they want to, put forward a mindset, a viewpoint, right? So it's like an engineering society in a certain way and starts in school, okay? They want homogeneity, they want to regulate the behavior of these children, conditioning them to conform to societal norms and traditions. They make future workers fit into predefined roles, right? You train this and then you do this. They want you to be productive because they want to tax you, they want to make money off of you, but not necessarily to be innovative and critical thinkers. They don't want you to be critical thinkers. Okay, you get cut out, you get even faculty proposes, provides an alternative view, you know what happens to that faculty, okay? We very well know that happens to a faculty that tries to bring in about, a diversity in thought, whether in economic thought or other thoughts. You get cut off, you get kicked out. Murray Rothbard has a book called Free and Compulsory, right? He obviously critiques the state-controlled education system. Furthermore, so that was the ideological approach, the reasoning, but even efficiency-wise, it's inefficient. Why? Because public schools are not run by the price mechanism, by profit motive. They are run bureaucratically, right? So schools, they don't have the feedback loop. They don't know what the customers want. They don't know what the children want to learn. They don't know what the parents want for their children, right? They just get their money via taxation, and in particular, property taxation. So they got their money in their pockets already. So they're not incentivized to listen, right? The price is a message. I don't pay you, another school opens, does a better job, I take my money elsewhere. You start making profits, you start making losses, you can go bankrupt. But now they don't go bankrupt. When was the last time you heard a public school went bankrupt? They don't get bankrupt. The more inefficient, the more funding they'll get. Okay? So this is one application of bureaucratic versus for-profit management in the education marketplace, right? So there's lack of signals and profit motive. Without competition, without profit and losses, without the price mechanism, these bureaucracies have no real incentive to innovate, improve, or the quality of education. I don't want to blame the individual teacher at the public school. They don't know what they're doing, but but what are they motivated by? Nothing. The bureaucracy that runs the school, what is their motivation? Do they want to invent? Do they want to innovate? No. It's a monopoly. No one is competing with them. They have access to funding as much as they want, right? Right. So Rothbard, obviously, he says that they impose uniformity, one size fits all curricula that stifle individual creativity and personal development. According to Rothbard, public education systems have a vested interest in promoting obedience to the state. So in a market economy, private schools compete for students. If it's a competitive marketplace, right, there's competition. They want to provide different services. Competition incentivizes schools to offer high quality education that meets the needs of both the parents and the children. Schools that perform poorly will lose students and ultimately fail. This creates an environment of constant improvement and adaptation to the preferences of the students and the customers. Privatizing education so one argument against a private market for education that they make, if you privatize education, what happens to the poor and unfortunate members of the society? They're not going to get education, it's going to be a class struggle, the poor is going to get poorer, the rich is going to get richer. This, smart kids, otherwise, they don't have access to education. So these are the arguments that I've heard thousands and thousands of times, over the past decade. But however, there is a market mechanism for that. What would be a market mechanism? If there is a child, right, who doesn't have enough money to go to school, you think that child is going to be left behind? No, what would be an alternative?
Scholarships?
Scholarships, based on merit, there will be scholarships. Trust me, if the government gets out, I'll be the first one that would open up a company, right? And you bring me your children, I'll give some evaluations, and there's possibility that they can, make it through, depending on the program that they're in. Sometimes just the basics. If they just want to go to school, learn arithmetics, reading and writing, the fundamentals, I would do it. Contractual agreement, you pay me back when you graduate. If you want more advanced education, I'll give you a test to qualify, right? So there is a market mechanisms, financing mechanisms. We have very advanced financial systems. If you want to start a business, you need $1 million, $10 million. Where do you go? To the banks. You convince them. You show them the blueprint. If they like it, okay, then you get the money. Same thing, you go to them, you tell them that you want to acquire not physical capital, so you can buy machinery to start your business, but you want to buy human capital in the form of education. Same thing, same idea, this exists. You borrow money, you pay it back. People have money, banks have money, everybody has money. They're looking somewhere to throw their money. They want to see the light, they want to throw the money, gasoline, so it burns. Okay, they want, so it exists very advanced. Similarly, we could have human capital markets that provide, we already have, right? But those markets will evolve, they'll multiply, they'll compete with one another, they provide better and better quality. Obviously, Patil mentioned scholarships, all kinds of scholarships, millions of scholarships, based on any criteria, people can apply for scholarships. These scholarships, the money is coming from where? Private endowments, charitable organizations, businesses, philanthropists. If you really know how to work the system, all of your education would be free probably. Okay? I was watching Shark Tank maybe a few years ago, and there was this guy, he said he got $1 million like from all this, So he created the app where you say which college you're going to, what's your major, your background, and then the app gives you like all the potential possible like charities that you can apply. And he said he made $1 million in his like college years, in addition to just the tuition, like, I don't know what happened to that app, to that like student. He was a student still, Has anyone seen that episode?
No.
You've seen it?
I actually worked in scholarships.
Oh.
Like doing the same
Oh, okay.
business where you just find there's a lot of these students that made hundreds of thousands of dollars from scholarships at Women University.
So why don't you tell me from the beginning and bring some scholarship money to our students at the Menger Academy?
Oh God, why didn't you put on the homies? Just
I
like
mean,
you off to the college.
Oh my
We could
God!
have given you money.
I know.
It was a.
There's no money. Okay. Now you're telling me.
I
mean,
helped
like,
set it up. I was,
So why don't you
and
set
I
it up? It's been like.
I can, yeah.
Okay. Please come in, have a seat. Almost done. So scholarships, private schools frequently, right? They offer this merit-based scholarships. The scholarships they come from endowments, charitable organizations, businesses, and philanthropists. Yes, question.
What would be like a useful mechanism in helping individuals realize their talent if it hasn't really like manifested itself?
Yeah, probably there'll be market enterprises, right? I mean, like I said, you don't even need to have it. You could be merit. I mean, you don't need to be advanced in your cognitive capacity. But any student, any child who learns the basics, the fundamentals of arithmetics and reading and writing, the basics, 3rd, 4th, 5th grade, 6th grade, that's fine. I mean, obviously, we have charts where your income actually goes up more than the more advanced degrees. Like it's, you know. So, yes, there'll be market enterprises that will provide financing, charitable organization addition, right, etc. So much money would be left in our hand as parents if we're not paying taxation and, you know, I mean, obviously we are subsidizing education, so give me the money, let me decide what to do with that money scenario. So in conclusion, private education systems driven by competition offer more diverse, high quality educational experiences. Private education system, they eliminate the bureaucratic excesses of government schools, they ensure that education remains a dynamic, evolving, adaptive environment, right? Homeschooling. So I'll give you a little bit about homeschooling. I did homeschool my 3 of my children for about 2 years, a year and a half, 2 years, right? So in California, for example, if you want to homeschool your child, you have to let the state know that you're homeschooling. You cannot just take them out. You have to actually tell them that you're homeschooling. As a matter of fact, you have to submit an application. Imagine so you submit an application, you open a school, and then they entice you to bring them back because they want to indoctrinate your kids, right? So the enticement comes in the form of, well, if you want to follow our curriculum, the local curriculum, the county level, city level curriculum, then you get money. So if I'm homeschooling, if I follow state curriculum or county city curriculum, they tell you, yes, my kids will go take the exams in the nearby schools, then I get money, the state gives me, the city gives me money, right? So as long, well I said, so I'm on the phone, I'm like, I said, please come in. You can have a seat over there. So the idea is, so I said, well, the only reason I'm homeschooling is because I don't like your curriculum. I have my own curriculum, right? So obviously I didn't get any funding. So that's the idea of homeschooling. And unschooling, our dear professor David Friedman, in his book, The Machinery of Freedom, he actually talks about a new alternative, which is unschooling, right? So unschooling, he advocates that unschooling is a form of education that emphasizes a self-directed learning where children are free to explore their own interests at their own pace, right? Rather than following a traditional curriculum. And I will stop here. This is the end. We'll take a few minutes break, coffee break, and Professor David Friedman will take over the next lecture. Okay?